beat, off the 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 beat. Real authentic conversations.
All right, so man, Offbeat Podcast. We're here, man. I'm your host right here, man, George, and co-host right here, man. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hey, go for it.
Brian P. Ready to talk to you guys and have a genuine talk overall.
Awesome. My name is Aaron Ortega. I am so excited to do this, and this is just an awesome time. It's kind of like a low-key dream of mine to do this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. It's surreal, man. It's awesome though that we're able to finally, I know we've been talking about it, and we put our heads together, and but we're finally here, man. We're here at Offbeat Podcast Studio.
Yes.
And yeah, man, we're ready to record some content, man. And today, man, we're just we decided to just have some fun. We're doing a little tester, and we're just gonna be talking about why we decided to do this.
Yeah.
So,
I guess that's a good question to start. Like, I mean, where did this come from? And I guess kind of knowing what the heart behind this and what's the whole point of doing this, what's the purpose, and I guess for me, I remember having a conversation with George. I was washing my car, and we ended up like, George and I always have these conversations about, like, rather it's about church or rather it's about a message or something or an idea, and it's like, and then towards the end of that convo, I'm like, dang, bro, I wish this was like on a podcast.
Yeah.
And then he was just like, yo, are you being for real? And I'm like, yeah, dude, I've always wanted to do something like that. And I'm like, well, what do you got? What's in your head, bro? And he's like, I got some like equipment. And I go, no way, let's go.
Yep.
And then he brought up Brian. I'm like, Brian, who? Padilla? I'm like, I know Brian Padilla, but like back in the day, like, and so like I kind of have history with Brian back when he was in his high school time. And this dude was just, we have so many funny stories about Bible study and Colton, so I've always wanted to do something like this, and I love, without, like, not a lot of people know about this, but like every day I would be like interviewing myself about what my day's gonna look like, or and I kind of like, I've always loved interviewing and asking questions.
And it's I remember that conversation we had, because I remember it too, man. Like, it was, I want to say maybe about 4 months ago, because I was on my Amazon order list the other day. And I was going back, like, I was trying to look for one of the items that we had ordered for the podcast. And I think I went back, like, as far as 4 months.
Wow.
So it was like 4 months ago that, I started to kind of look around and started to, like, really take this podcast, like, project serious, and I'm like, because it was same thing, man. It's like these conversations that are going on, like you're having conversations with, I'd have conversations with my wife, we would have conversations with other people, about different things, different issues, different areas. And it'd be like, same thing, man. It'd be like, man, this would be a dope podcast. This would be something dope for people to hear, to release, because we've been all about, trying our hardest. We're not trying to say that we're 100%, you know what I mean? But we've always tried to take on, like, this, man, you know what? Like, there's nothing like authenticity and transparency.
Right.
There's nothing like having authentic, transparent conversations, and I really believe that nowadays that's something that's so hard to have sometimes.
Yeah, it is, especially today, like, but what about you, man?
Man, for me, one main topic is I think, I want to teach, not much teach, but giving advice, right?
Right.
And learn.
Yeah.
I want to learn. If I'm not gonna get too much into my testimony, right, or experience, but me growing up, I had a little rough, right? Mm-hmm. I've gone through anxiety, bad anxiety, depression, and really bad, right?
Yeah.
In the hospitals, and so, growing up, I told God, why do I go through this when I was young, right?
Right.
I'm like going through this, God, like, why can't I just be normal, right? Be happy. Just think of kid stuff. You know what I mean? Young, and growing up. But then God, at one point, God talked to me. Okay. He said, you know what? The pain that I went through is for a reason.
Right.
Right, and it's for a reason because I could teach somebody now. I could understand somebody.
Yeah, it's like a learning experience.
Exactly.
Right?
So
like you learn.
Exactly, like learning, like so then it just I felt peace in my heart where like now I could connect with people, right? Not even just religion, but outside of religion, totally. Right? Just like understand people, have empathy with people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one thing that I did wrong though was there was a lot of suicide in my around my area, right. Friends, family, right?
Okay. Oh, yeah, it's big.
But one thing is, I knew who Jesus was and what he did in my life, right? I knew who, some answers, some advice that for somebody to get out of that anxiety, to get out of that depression. Mm-hmm. But I never said nothing, right?
Oh, you kind of like just stayed quiet.
Stayed quiet. I had so much information in me.
Wow.
And it's like, and God would put that in me, like talk to him,
Yeah.
But me just being nervous or just ignoring it. Yeah. It became like I was carrying a burden, right? Wow. I wanted to talk. I wanted to let people know, right? Mental awareness and
that's a big one too.
Exactly.
I think like mental awareness and like I think like going back to like the whole idea of like this offbeat, like talking about mental suicide, depression, and like how many people go through that, and like it's not really talked about, and it's not, and like what do we do with this? And I think like doing this whole podcast, it just gives us the freedom to talk. It just gives us to even go to untouched subjects that are not talked about, and I think that's great, I don't think this is it's not. I'm not interested in trying to like debate anything or to convince anyone, but more like why do we do that? Why do we hold ourselves in, or why do we shut down? And I've always had like I pride myself in this. Like I have a lot of curiosity. I have a lot of spiritual curiosity. I have a lot of like human curiosity, and like I'm so curious. And and it got me in trouble, obviously, because when you're kidding, you know what I mean. Like you could get real mischievous. Like you're up to no good,
Trying to see what it is.
Like, but nah, man. Like but being able to just use that curiosity, like, and just break down and analyze it. I love that there's a space for that. And I think audience really want to know, like, there's some people out there that probably feel alone and they can't even speak and they can't express,
Yeah, because I think that's been the common denominator that we see, especially now in our communities, like in our society, is that like everyone is just kind of keeping and bottling a lot of these things, a lot of these emotions to themselves. And and the sad part is, like, and I'm not saying this like in a bad way, but like Brian, like what Brian said right now too, is like the thing is that we have the answers, but sometimes because we decide not to have these conversations,
that's hard.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it is, man. And that's and I think that's kind of even like how the name Offbeat even came about, because it's like, well, why Offbeat? Why Offbeat? And the reason why Offbeat is because that's how a lot of people feel in life. Life can try to make, society, community, social media, and I even dare to say, like, sometimes even our churches, can, create like what the rhythm of life, per se is supposed to look like,
That's
and
so true.
And it's like, it's not bad, I get it, we there's laws, there's ways, there's a way of life, even the way we grow up, and I believe the people around us have the best, they have the best intention for us, but the truth of the matter is that more often than not, most people find themselves off that rhythm.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's so true what you're saying, because like oftentimes, like, my success looks so different from everybody else's success. Like my walk with like God, earth, time is so different from it. In fact, I would even say that even my personal time is so irregular. It's abnormal. It's not. It's not even. It doesn't look very American. And I know that sounds like but like it's just different, and I think that's so true.
It's because you married Canadian, bro.
I did, bro, and I love it. And I'm going on 17 years, man. And I'm happy, and I'm excited, but like But that's so true. Which leads to the next thing where we couldn't even talk about this, because like we can talk about issues in our society, but we're also gonna talk about how people rise to the top.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I'm excited to get people in here,
Yeah.
in the studio,
Yeah.
and to really talk about them. Like, how did you overcome?
Yeah.
What was your darkest hour?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what did you do, and how did you handle it?
Yeah.
I'm so curious.
And
man.
it's oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So and that's the beauty of it, right? We're here to learn and grow
Yeah.
in different ways, right?
Right.
Not just right, like I said, mental illness. We're not just gonna, I'm
Yeah,
not just focused
not
on
just
that.
that.
I'm just saying that it really opened up more to go out there and teach, advise, and learn, right?
100%.
So it could be from mental illness to even the next entrepreneur. How'd you make that $1 million? You know what I mean? I'm
Show me how to do it, bro.
How to do it. Show me how to be a better person to my community, right? How to help, right?
Yeah.
So I'm ready, man. Like, I'm ready to grow, guys.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
Because I mean, our whole goal is like, we might not be able to provide all the answers, you know what I mean, but having a conversation, because that's one thing that I've learned, especially throughout these last few years in my life, is that a lot of the answers that I was able to find out, or a lot of things that I was able to figure out in my life, in my marriage, in my personal life, in my walk with God, it didn't come from, and I don't, say this in the wrong way or anything. Like, I believe in prayer, right? I believe 100%. You know what I mean? We're all churchgoers here. You know what I mean? We believe 100%. But a lot of the answers didn't come solely just from that. It really did come from stepping in the room with someone and having these intimate, truthful, transparent conversations.
You're
where
vulnerable.
exactly where, and that was hard for me. Man, like, growing up. And and that's kind of that's gonna be one of the first episodes, man. I'm excited for that, man. That's kind of our first episode is gonna be, kind of my story, and how how everything kind of led even up to this moment. Because I really believe that things in life happen and they lead us to a moment. And that moment for me was like years ago when I had to step into the room with a complete stranger.
Wow.
And I had to just be 100% vulnerable.
You got to be raw.
I had to be raw.
Let it all out.
I had to get real. I had to get authentic, and I had to have the conversation.
That's gnarly.
And because there was a point in my life where I'm like, man, you know what? I don't think I'm normal. I don't
feel normal at all, bro.
Yeah, but you know what?
I feel so offbeat.
Yeah, and some people are comfortable with that.
Yeah,
like
I'm totally happy
yeah,
with that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I love. That's what I've always loved. That's something I've always loved about you, Pastor. Is that, like, you've always embraced that. But see, for me though, like it was a little, and I hope we can get into that when I share my story.
Yeah.
But it was always so different for me, because me being different just meant it was always geared and tied towards the negativity.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? So it was.
I'm interested in that.
Yeah, man.
Like, that's funny that you bring this up, because, like, for me, okay, so I just lost my dad about 16 months now.
Yeah, Pastor Armando, man.
Pastor Armando. Dad was like the life of the party, right?
Yeah.
I remember.
My relationship with my dad, it was really, he's my best friend, and I would have this time with my dad, and we would have the kind of conversation, and that would have been a podcast that, like, him and I go back and forward on so many different things about church and doctrine and beliefs and values and all the conscious talk, everything. But then that went away. I don't have anybody else. And and my grieving, I was grieving, and I got to the point where I got so angry, bro, that I started exploding on some of my family members. And my wife had to, like, put me in check and be like, bro, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I felt very out of control. And so that's when I hear you when you say you have to, like, be vulnerable with someone. So I got, like, a therapist, a grief counselor that really helped me through this and to really open up. And I just took the time to really focus on me and my mental health and my emotionals and everything.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, dang, I've been waiting to have a conversation with my dad, and I'm never going to have that again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I go, oh, dang. And I remember praying, bro. I remember saying, like, God, like, something in my soul is withering away. I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that at the time that my curiosity was so elevated. I needed to talk, but can anybody handle my conversation?
Yeah,
man. No. Keep going.
Yeah,
keep going.
Right here with like, hey, yo, I want to do a podcast. I'm like, bro, please let me be on that thing. And I really feel like this could be a place where I can talk.
Yeah, because
Junior.
and that's man. Because and the thing is that it's cool that we're doing this, because the thing is that, again, you know, like, we go to coffee shops, you know, here and there. We'll have these conversations, you know, but again, like, and it's good because it edifies us, you know. But I know for myself, and I know I think I can speak for all of us, is that we really want to get these conversations out to the people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Like to listeners, to people who will give us their time, you know what I mean, who will give us their ear, because we know that there are more people. I know that there are more people like me, you know. And that was one of the things that I a couple years back, it's been a few years now, but I came to peace with, you know, is that, you know, I wanted to fit this image. You know, there was an image that I wanted to fit, and it wasn't a bad image, but the thing is that God didn't make me to that image.
Was it unrealistic?
It wasn't unrealistic, but it wasn't me.
All right.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, because and the reason why I say it's not that it's not realistic is because, like, you know, there's people that can live their lives that way, and you see them flourish, you see them prosper, and it's great. But the fact is that I had to come to terms that wasn't me, you know. And when I made peace with that, when I finally made peace with that, you know, when I finally understood that, you know what, God has his own path for me, you know, like God has the way, you know, God uses, you know, even my failures, mistakes, you know, the things that we go through, you know, the way he uses it. Sometimes we want, you know what I mean, to go back to our former way.
What I'm hearing, it sounds like you're saying that you have this image and you had to, like, surrender. Mm-hmm. You had to surrender. There's a way that's not going that way, right? Mm-hmm. And like, I think, I totally relate to that, because sometimes we have these images. I think a lot of people have that. We all have like these different type of goals,
right?
And God's like, yeah. You're going westbound.
Yeah,
going west.
It's like, that's like God, like, you know, that'd be cool if God talks like this, but he'd be like, hey, that's cool, but that's kind of for them, not for you. Yeah.
And I think isn't that's great. I think, like, that's a great conversation to have, basically, on how is our society been affected by the post-pandemic, like, and like how, like, I've seen a lot of changes in our society,
right? Yeah,
you know, and I've seen a lot of social behaviors that changed so many ways, you know.
And even mental illness was high. You know,
like, it's high, you know. Like, I got family members that are really struggling. I have really bad panic attacks, and I get like really heavy anxieties out of nowhere, bro. But I think I've talked with people that have the same thing, and I've learned on how to handle. And so, like, I've learned the breathing patterns. I've learned to do those things, and that's been really, like, helpful. Yeah. I remember, like, there's some, you know, I don't know if you have family members like this, but they're like, like, come on, bro, like, it's all in your head. And it's like, yes, it is, but it's not.
Yeah. And that's the problem, right?
Right. There's,
you know,
there's a lot of shaming on it.
I come from
there's a lot of, like, anxiety shaming, bro.
I come from a Mexican family, right?
Yeah, bro.
Diaz. If I tell them how I feel, that's loco, you know. The word says loco, you know, even like, so they'll never understand, right?
Right.
So that was the problem, right? Sometimes we hold things in, even with their own friends, right? Outside the world,
because people they look down to such a huge condescending to it.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, I think, like, even like anxiety, like, I begin to have more empathy for people, and I think
100%.
I think that's another cool thing too. Having a conversation about anxiety can produce empathy for people, and people in our society don't really have empathy for one another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
if anything, they're more suspicious.
Yeah, man, and you know what? I'm, you know, it's sad to admit, you know what I mean, but I was one of those guys. You know what I mean? I remember when my mom is is a perfect example. You know, when she was finally she went to go see a therapist, and she did all that, and this was years ago, and she was finally diagnosed. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you have your symptoms. It all matches up. You know what I mean? Your depressive behaviors. All this, and honestly, like for in the beginning, man, and I was already saved. I was already saved. I was already going to church, but I found myself like not being able to accept it.
Wow.
Yeah, man, and
was that because? Okay, I know. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
All right. Because all right, do you ever find that church, like the message is to overtake these like, mental illness, or like there's like a chemical disorder? I feel sometimes there's churches that don't accept that, and they say, no, God is bigger, and I agree. Yeah. Amen. God can take that away. Yes, amen. But what if he doesn't? And then like, how do we like? And I feel like the church doesn't set up the community for success in that aspect, and not to be like it feels like it's of the devil to have any sort of that type of behavior, fear, like anxiety, like see, though, this is what happened when you hang out with her, and they always blame it on something, but don't realize that there's actual things going on in your body that's affecting you. You know what I'm saying?
And that's exactly what you said. That's what was going on with me too, right? They'll say like, I believe in prayer, right? But I also believe, me growing up, they'll tell me that just pray, pray. Yeah. But it wasn't going away. It would give me peace though. One thing, praying would give me peace. Really? It was my therapy, right? Really? Oh man, like I would feel so good, but it'll come back, right? Okay. It'll come back. So, what I did, I took things, I learned from somebody else. Hey, start working out, right? Okay. Come with me. Well, let's work out. Okay. We got into the boxing, right? Boxing scene. So you're right, man. Like sometimes it's not just prayer, right?
You have to move,
do something else, right? Learn other ways, right?
But okay. My question though, what was the real reason why you couldn't accept it?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it was because of my upbringing. A lot of it was because of that. Because again,
what does that mean? Like machismo or what?
Yeah, the machismo. You know what I mean? Like coming from Hispanic family. You know what I mean? Like where it's like it's all in your head. Yeah. Like you got to beat this. It's a sign of weakness. Yeah. Things like that. So but then also because it was my mom. Okay. It was my mom. So we were used to, seeing my mom this strong. She had her character. She had her ways. But we're like, oh, what happened to this strong, independent, hardworking woman? Like, nah, she can't have this. And, even though it made sense, but it was hard to accept. So my brother and I, we wrestled with it a lot. And you're right. Part of it too, though, was because of, my spiritual beliefs at that time. Right. Like, what I was learning in the church, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't gearing us.
Great and mighty.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Because I sometimes feel like that's what the society expects of one another. You have to be great and mighty. Yeah. And like you're a warrior. We have ancestors. We have the barbaric history behind us, and I feel like and then like you got older people that are saying this generation too soft. Yeah, right. Bro, you neglected us, man. Like you let us run in the streets. We were getting kidnapped, man. But it's like, I don't know, like I think maybe, like I do agree that there are a lot of soft areas and soft spots in our generation. Yeah. Sure, like I get that. But but some of the stuff like that we talk about in our societies, we need to be a little bit more sensitive to and then you wonder why, like suicide is an all-time high now, right? Real high. And then we were like, yeah, it's because they blame it on something, but they don't take ownership or responsibility for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of it is because, and I think this is in general, like any human being, not just the church necessarily, but I think that a lot of times, we run away from what we're afraid, or we run away from what we don't understand.
Yeah, it's 100%.
And I believe that that's what sometimes is so difficult because, we don't give ourselves to try to understand a situation, we'd rather just kind of generalize it. You know what I mean? But the truth
is that just because we want to make things familiar, so out of our own comfort.
Right. I believe that. Yeah, it's like whatever's familiar, whatever's easily accessed, whatever gives we want to feel like we give the right response, but without really asking, like, is that really the right response for that person though?
Right.
Because some people might have the experience, some people might be just struggling through a spiritual battle.
Yeah.
Some people might actually be just, there's something spiritual within their lives. There's let's, for example, man, like, hey, you're a sin. Right. Like let's be real, like sin will do that to you.
Right.
And so, like, if you're living a life of sin, you're careless, then like the consequences are like guilt, shame, all that stuff is gonna take a toll on your mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's a given.
Yeah.
But there's certain things that sometimes it's like, man, what if that person, that person's really trying, but that, like you said, there's some chemical imbalances in that person.
Yeah, and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and then I think we're all trying to grow, but we have to. I really appreciate you saying that. Like, I came to terms, and I think if we can all look at ourselves in the mirrors and come to terms that what is not gonna happen, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And maybe we can be present. And we can actually change into what we're supposed to be changing. I'll never forget that one time, my dad, this was back in like 98, right? My dad's always been a strong guy. Like, my dad's a strong man. I look up to my dad. My dad's my hero. I love him, man. My dad's a vibe, right?
Old school.
Yeah, straight up, right? But one day, like I noticed something within this month. Something was off about my dad. My dad was too nice. Like, my dad kind of got soft. And then like 99, 2000, I graduated. My dad's like different now. And I'm just kind of like, I'm a little upset with my dad. Low key though, low key. And I didn't say nothing.
Right.
And then one day, I just told him, like, why are you so soft?
Nah.
I tried to show him. I showed my dad. I'm like, why are you so soft?
You touched his heart.
And my dad's a lefty, bro.
Yeah.
And he went right at me. And I'm like, bro, what's going on, man? Like, what's going on? And I remember asking my mom, like, what's going on with dad? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I remember telling my dad, why are you so soft? And my dad, what my dad's response was? And this really changed. This is like an echo that keeps ringing in my head, it's offbeat, bro. But he said, because I became a grandpa.
Oh.
And I go, I don't get what you're saying. You're still my dad. I need you to be my dad. And he goes, no, I'm a grandpa. And I go, what? I don't get this. He goes, every man in life, if they live long enough, they'll experience their manhood to change. Change. You'll experience a change in your manhood. And as a person, your body changes, your emotions, your nervous system, it all changes. Because I used to think like a dad. I used to think like a single man. But now I have a grandson, and then he had another one, and then my sister had another one, and then she had 4. And my dad changed so much. And then when I had my kid, my dad was so
there was a gentleness.
Yeah, gentleness. Yeah.
He was a gentle giant, like a warrior, right?
Yeah.
But the man's capable.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so all that to say is that I'm learning that maybe change, we have to look within our human selves.
Right.
And we have to look at ourselves and saying, what changes naturally is changing in my life?
Yeah.
And what am I trying to force?
Yeah. And I think that's why conversations are so important.
Right.
Because the thing is that sometimes and that's the beautiful thing about, even like community and stuff like that, you know what I mean, is that when you find a community of people that you can have a conversation with, it makes so much of a difference. Because the thing is that sometimes, like, where do you have these? And I remember I know your dad, like he always had a group of people around him.
Always.
He always
had an entourage.
Yeah, like he had he knew like every breakfast spot in the Inland Empire.
Oh my God, he was everywhere. I can't keep up.
And because that's one thing that I really learned from him. Like, I really learned this from your dad, was, because your dad and my pastor, they really took that as Monday ritual. Like it was like religiously they were having breakfast like every Monday or Tuesday. And I learned that from your dad, because it's like I understood, man, like how important it is to have these regular conversations with people you can trust, of course, you know, but how important it is to release, because the thing is that sometimes like you said, we're going through these changes, but sometimes I feel that that's where the resistance comes in, is because when, like I said earlier, we're afraid or we run from what we don't understand.
Or sometimes we just don't know how to articulate our thoughts.
Or exactly.
You know, like I have some friends that, you know, like they're like, that's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to say it.
Right. Yeah.
So
I think we have those kinds with Brian too, huh? Brian, like we'll have those. He's like, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Because you know, we need to have authentic, real conversations with people, because like going kind of back to my mom, you know, it sucked because I wasn't ever really giving myself to have a conversation with my mom and say, Mom, okay, Mom, like explain to me what's going on and what you're feeling. I was just kind of closed. I was like, no, this is my mom. This can't happen to her. Like, what? No. But it wasn't, sadly, and it sucks to say, but it wasn't until like my mom, you know, she ended up, you know, in the hospital.
Wow.
You know, because
that became more real to you.
Yeah, because she was driving, and this was in Vegas. She was driving by herself, and I don't know what she was doing, but it was a real hard time in her life. And she ended up just having a panic attack.
Wow, bro.
Yeah,
that's hard.
Yeah.
And if you never had it, or if you're on your own, you don't really know what to do.
Well, I had one a year or two back.
Oh, wow.
So I definitely, now I know more, but at that moment I was like, dude, like that really opened my eyes up. And I'm like, man, my mom was alone. She was trying to drive herself. She was trying to be strong, independent, and look what happened. You know what I mean? And so I just really felt bad, and that's when I really, you know, I took it to prayer, and God really softened me to come to that terms, to come to that understanding, and be like, look, George, like, you know, you have to really give yourself over to this and really try to be. You're compassionate with all these other people.
Well, what's amazing though is that you're saying though, because we got to give room to investigate another person.
Right.
So when you investigate, I think the sole purpose is to serve one another.
Right.
Is to help. So like if you gave room to truly love your mom or anyone else, I've been learning since Dad passed away. I'm learning to investigate. Like, hey, what's going on? And then I can assist you in these areas in my best ability.
Yeah.
And I think if anything, we should be teaching people or talking or inspiring people to take responsibility for their service, like to other people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like we need to learn how do I better help you?
Yeah.
We live in a culture where it's all about me and it's all about what I want to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I believe this podcast is just that, right?
Yeah.
Everything that we've been through, every experience, we're just ready to just say it, help somebody out there, right? Give hope to somebody.
Yeah.
In any way, right? Like I said, and if it could just be one person that could touch, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah,
if we could save one person and be like, you know what? He's going through that. He made it. Wow, that's how he did it, right?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm not the only weird one. Because sometimes we all think we're weird, right?
Yeah.
We have the thought we're weird. We're stressing about this.
I'm a creep.
Right?
I don't want to be a creeper, bro. But
I think we should all sing that together, bro.
Yeah, no, but yeah, man, it's
I'm excited.
I'm excited.
And I know that and I know we even talked about this a little bit the other day, you know, and you know, we kind of, you know, we're open for this to, you know, we're really believing that this is gonna be able to reach all kinds of people and even different states, and you know, we're really hoping for the best, you know, but you know, we kind of even talked about this a little bit, you know, the other day, where it's like, you know, one of the things we really want to try to reach the IE,
right?
You know, because I really believe there's a lot of men here in the IE that need to hear conversations, you know, that need to.
I say people in general, because
people in general.
We have some strong people in the IE, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we got some really, like, I mean, I know that IE could be known as hood. You know, we got the hood here, but
they're very resistant.
But we got some really, like, talented people, and we got some
super talented
people. And I believe that, you know, the IE can be like awesome.
Yeah, man. I believe we can have better communities, you know, because if we have better fathers, if we have better mothers.
But FYI, for those who are listening, and when we say IE, we're saying Inland Empire.
Yeah,
that's the
Inland
county.
Empire.
So, yeah.
The stretch is really far, huh?
And we're excited, man. But yeah,
Vegas.
you know, but we're excited, man, and because we really want to do our best to try to reach this community. You know what I mean?
Right.
But we're also open for it to, like, you know, wherever it reaches. You know what I mean? Like, whoever needs to hear this, that's kind of the cool thing about the internet.
Yeah, it can go to everyone.
It can go, yeah. So we're excited though, man.
Let's roll, baby.
And I don't know, man. I think I'm just excited for the people that we're gonna interview.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I'm excited for my story next week, man. And
I got them questions ready for you, George.
But yeah, man. But that was our test.
Yeah.
And
thanks. It was a pleasure.
Pleasure speaking.
Yeah, man. So thank you for listening to Offbeat Podcast.
Tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. Yeah. We'll see you guys next time. All right. Stay up, stay real, stay authentic, and don't forget, man, to have those conversations, man.